Hi, Sagittarius. It's Angela. We're here to do your September reading for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And because this is soul guidance, it's intuitively driven. If your intuition has brought you here as well, and you may not have predominant Sagittarius placements, it's still for you. The message is for you. I am drawing in the energy of Sagittarius as I shuffle and pull these cards. And as you know, energy isn't really beholden to any one category or time space either. Like these are in this present moment, it's just about to be September. But if you come back to this in, March next year, and this pertains to you, it was meant for you to see then. So remember that when we are moving through. Soul guidance readings are not predictive. They're not external. This is aspects of yourself that we're going to shine a light on and find ways to transform them if we choose. It's all about your willingness and your own inner guides, being willing to make some shifts. Okay, and the guidance that we're getting, the oracle card we're going to use is coming from this deck, Messages from the Light, to give us a theme or a topic to address. And the card I pulled for you, Sagittarius, surrender. Surrender, Dorothy. No, not really. But I love this. So let me put in my perception of this word surrender. Some of us may think of this as giving in, like even in this figure, in this imagery, the figure has fallen to her knees and, being willing really to channel in the energy from spirit and letting it flood her, let the light come through her. But this is not how I see surrender. If it were me and I were drawing that, which nothing against the artist, this artwork is gorgeous. For me personally, I like to think of surrender as allowing. And surrender does make sense if you're feeling like you're in a battle and you just want to stop the battle, right? But there's a giving in and there's a relinquishing of that conflict that occurs. But for me, there also is a step missing, because after we fall to our knees, I think we need to open up. I think that the figure could be opening up and receiving that with a willingness, right? A willingness to allow what is to be there, even if it's something that's contrary to our progress or something that makes us feel uncomfortable, right? Allow it to be there. There's more, there's more of a presence of your inner being to me, if we see it that way. If we see it as, oh, this is happening, this is difficult, and I allow it to be here so that I may learn from it, I may incorporate it, do away with it if I choose, and move on and proceed with my growth, right? That's just my interpretation. So if some of you find this surrender and think, oh, I have to give in, I have to drop my sword or whatever, stop the fight, true. But also have this vibration of allowing what comes next, allowing what is to be there and allowing what comes next to propel you forward. Okay. All right, let's get some clarity here with the Zen cards. So we have for you, Sag, this is your starting point here as it pertains to surrendering. Okay, I'm going to laugh really a lot because this is my favorite card to talk about when I'm talking about allowing what is to be present. It's my favorite. This and the same thing as this surrender card does not bring me the vibration of giving in or relinquishing. There's more of a centralized, like a grounded presence of allowing this stuff to be there without fighting it, right? And the opposite is true for the courage. I don't think of this card as bravado or any active kind of measures that need to be taken. It's a matter of just being willing and allowing the growth to come. right? That little seed that lives way down there in the boulders is protected by a hardened shell, and it really could just kind of stay there if it wanted, right? It never really knows what it can transform into until it begins to allow the water, the droplets of water to come down there and soften its shell, allow a little bit of the food or the fertile elements to come through and help it, bring forth its growth, the sunlight to reach down through the crack so that it could reach up toward it, right? It's allowing these elements to be present so that it can transform. And with you at this point, for this reading, Sagittarius, if there is, when you saw this card at first, surrender, and you went, oh yeah, I know what that is, then let's transform the paradigm a little bit. And let's say, I know what that is. I will relinquish the fight, but I won't lay down. I will remain standing and grounded and open to what comes next into my experience, open to those drops of water that can soften my hard shell, and be open to the transformation and the growth that is inevitable after a challenge like this, right? So I love this start. I mean, couldn't be better right now for you guys, Sag, right? Okay, so let's move on. The energy here in this card is inner, it's internal. It may not be shared. It may just be an inner awareness that you have. And that card is projections. So this is wonderful. This is calling for you in the space that you're occupying now, that you're standing grounded, willing to receive signs and receive messages and even intuitive nudges that move you in a direction away from whatever this difficulty was. As you stand there willing to receive the information that will help you transform, you can also drop the projections. You can stop. You first of all call awareness to them. If there's a part inside you, within you, that really wants to say, well, this situation happened because of them, or because I'm a certain way, I don't have enough trust, and so this situation happened and my trust was broken. Any of that pointing your fingers outward or even inward at a reason why you were in this difficulty is sort of a useless exercise. It's a waste of energy, because we don't control much in this life except our responses to situations. Life is its own force, and especially as beings on this planet, it's a force, right? The energy is continuous. We're all connected, but stuff's flying all the time, right? There's stuff coming at us and challenging us, and oh, here's a curveball for you, and let's throw a wrench into that, right? It's continuous. What we call change is constant. That's what's happening in life. It's just throwing little detours toward you. Your work is to build the alignment within you spiritually and practice it to such a point of strength that, yeah, sometimes we fall off our alignment, but for the most part, mostly we don't. Mostly we remain grounded. Mostly we remain connected to our inner self, to our higher self, and to spirit. And when we can achieve that, then this courage, this willingness to let new things come in to guide us in a new direction becomes easier. It becomes actually anticipated. I can't wait to see what life is going to throw at me now to propel me forward, because with every challenge, we experience growth, no matter what, whether it's inside in a little corner of ourselves or outside and really showing in our external world. But every challenge creates an opportunity for growth. But within us, if we're in there kind of in the back of our mind, or if we're feeling deeply that, oh, I don't have control, or it's their fault, or it's my fault for having this personality, or, any kind of pointing to blame, this is an opportunity for you to have an awareness of that when it goes on within you. It doesn't mean it's bad or wrong that you have that. This is a human reaction, but just calling awareness to that and then being willing to sort of quiet that a little bit and being more in this present moment, as is that seed, as is, you know, this figure who is just willing to let it all be as it is. That is the thing that will propel you forward on your path, right? Not the pointing and blaming and, you know, that kind of thing. Totally natural, but shouldn't be the predominant energy here. That's kind of why it's in the internal position too, right? You have you have what it takes to let that quiet down or even dismiss it and release it altogether. Okay, let's get back to your spread. So now in your external position, the combination of this willingness to be with what is, to allow for your transformation, and to release any preconceived ideas that, you know, this is the reason I failed, or this is the reason I'm stuck, or whatever. Just let that fall away. Then we have this external, in your external world, it results in a breakthrough, like a literal breakthrough. This is a power card. This is third chakra, self-empowerment, kick butt energy, right? That you will embrace. This is in your external world, right? If these were reversed, it would be a different reading. It would be, you know, within you, you can feel the bubbling up. You can feel the alignment coming. But in your external world, there are still things you're facing and facing back at you that feel like a roadblock, but they're not that way. This is like the complete path. The first step is to allow it to be as it is, whatever it is. And then look for the signs that will help you transform it. Quieting those ideas that any one thing or person or aspect of yourself was at fault for bringing you here in the first place. Quiet those voices and watch the transformation happen. Watch the explosion. Watch that empowerment come back online, right? Look at the contrast here between that figure who is, you know, bathed in light as well. Ooh, I love this. Look at this transformation. Bathed in light, receiving it through the crown chakra, letting the light become part of her inner being. And then once it's aligned and once we have the materials that we need to blossom and break through the surface, it does. And all that light comes beaming out. Now your radiant self is showing up in the world, having transformed whatever that block was. Beautiful. Look at that. Wow, you guys. Okay, next we have what we're guiding toward now is this level of cards here. This is our higher perspective on the thing. This is our connecting with our higher self as it pertains to the willingness to be with what is. The key to getting there is in this card. And that is the burden. So now we bring the mental energies on board, right? You know, up until now, it's been sort of a sense of, you know, inner being, feelings, and inner awarenesses. But now we got our mental burdens that we want to be able to let go of. This figure here is, first of all, bogged down, you know, loaded down with this rooster. And actually, this figure is the one loaded down with this one and the rooster on top of them. So everybody's burdened, everybody's pressed down because they're all trying to make the journey on top of each other. And for me, in this reading, this represents your thoughts, right? The burdensome thoughts that are just piled one on the other. But how can I, you know, enjoy a breakthrough when I've got, you know, 100 other things to worry about? And how can I surrender to what is when, you know, I have things to take care of, or I have a list of things that is needing to be accomplished. How can I just stop and surrender when I gotta go forward? Well, you can, you know, even if it's momentarily. You know, here's what I like to say. in order to transform any of our spaces or aspects of ourselves that we wish to transform, the first step is to, first of all, acknowledge that the transformation is possible. Just be willing to accept that it's possible. I may not know how I'm going to get there, but it's possible for me to take that journey. I'll start with the first step, right? I may not know how. And that's how it, when it comes to, so, because our minds and our mental awareness and our mental being, the facet of us that is in charge of our logic and our intellect and our thoughts and the way we perceive things and our beliefs, that's not all stuck to be one way, right? We believe sometimes it is. This is what I think, and so that makes it real, right? True, in a sense. But if you think that you can't go forward and you can't get anything out of surrender or acceptance or allowing, if you think that, then you will not. You won't transform. So this is just a reminder, after this breakthrough that you've had, this real I allowed what was around me to be present, and it created a transformation. Maybe not in a full, one and done way. Maybe this is just a little facet of things that are transformed, but transform it did, right? It does occur. And the next block, since you now have experienced, I get to see this differently now. I got to accept the situation as it was. I let some of the difficult energy kind of just move past me. I engaged with some of the difficult energy and worked it out, found a way to lessen its voice. And I allowed the divine and my intuition and my current energies to help me make my next step forward. Then we come upon, but you couldn't, but you shouldn't, but what about this, right? That's those burdensome thoughts. And to be able to quiet those, one of the easiest ways is through meditation or, mindful breathing techniques, being out in nature, being with your animals, listening to music, anything that can quiet those thoughts, even temporarily, even for 2 minutes, is the start of your path forward, is the start of the release to move forward and transform your situation. Okay. It doesn't make sense all the time to the logical brain that to give it a rest is what makes it easier, even because you feel like you're in a fight and you need to keep asserting yourself. So it doesn't make sense to the logical brain, but that's why we have our intuition and our inner being as well, because the logical brain is not the end all perfection of being right. Okay. It's an aspect of us, and our minds are powerful tools. But if we don't also have our intuitive self on board and our spirit and our soul on board guiding us as well with our logic, then, we burn out or we end up in a space that is not tenable. Okay, let's move forward. So finding a way to release those burdensome thoughts through meditation, through listening to music, being in nature, those kinds of ways, lands you in this higher level of awareness. And we've got the Lovers. This is a space of pure love. This is, the payoff for having the courage of allowing what is to be there and allowing our inner being to receive those tools and messages that we need in order to transform any situation. This is the payoff. We get to live in a higher love within you, and supporting this energy of love is flowering. I mean, your inner being will shift from point and blame blockages to pure intention and blossoming with some of these steps. This is beautiful. There's so much ease in these cards. If you see those figures, there's so much ease there. compared to that and that, right? This is confusion and fogginess and not seeing things clearly and wanting to look outside of ourselves for the reason, or, you know, believing someone else when they're reflecting back on us that, you know, this is impossible to achieve. And then we have the burden card as well. Okay, so now your external manifestation of this compassion and this, you know, this love energy and our beautiful intentions blossoming from the inside out, the result of that is celebration. I mean, gorgeous. We get to revel in the path that we've taken, starting with this vibration of surrender, starting with, it's so difficult here. Let me take a step back. Let me just allow this all to be here. If we take a step back and don't engage in it and fight with our swords and keep resisting, some of that stuff will naturally fall away. And then we can pick up the pieces, you know, wait for the water to soften our shell, wait for the transformation, and then we end up in full transformation, in full flowering, and get to celebrate it all. I love this so much. This was so good. All right, Sag, I hope this helped, and I hope that it connected for some of you. And I'll see you probably in a couple weeks. Love you guys.